Belgium, year 1940. It's 3 a.m., somewhere in the Ardennes forest. A German tank commander hasn't slept in 4 days. His hands are trembling, his eyes are bloodshot. His body is screaming at him to stop, but he doesn't stop. He reaches into his breast pocket, pulls out a small tin stamped with a single word, Pervitin. He dry swallows 3 pills. Within 20 minutes, the shaking stops. His vision sharpens. His fear evaporates, and he drives his tank another 80 kilometers into the heart of France. What you're about to hear is one of the most bizarre and terrifying drug stories in human history. The story of how the Third Reich, a regime that publicly condemned drugs as degenerate filth, secretly fed crystal meth to 3 million soldiers, chocolates spiked with cocaine to submarine crews, and pumped Adolf Hitler himself full of over 74 different substances, including opioids and amphetamines, almost every single day of the war. This is the story of Blitzkrieg, the drug that came in a chocolate box. To understand this story, you need to understand Germany in the 1930s, before the Nazis rose to power. Berlin was one of the wildest cities on earth. The Weimar Republic, Germany's government of the 1920s, was soaked in drugs. Morphine to mellow you out, cocaine to give you the boost for a long night on the town. It was decadent, chaotic, and free. Then, the Nazis arrived and promised to cleanse all of that. Hitler preached purity, discipline. He reportedly wouldn't even drink coffee. The myth of self-denial and self-sacrifice was essential to his success and influence. And yet, in 1937, a chemist named Fritz Hauschild, working for a Berlin pharmaceutical company called Temmler-Werk, was inspired by something he'd seen at the 1936 Olympics, American athletes using an amphetamine called benzedrine. Temmler patented a new method for synthesizing methamphetamine in 1937. They called their product Pervitin. Temmler-Werk began selling methamphetamine in the winter of 1937. Partly thanks to an aggressive advertising campaign, Pervitin became well known within just a few months. It was sold over the counter, no prescription needed. You could walk into any pharmacy in Germany and buy a tin like you'd buy aspirin today. But it got stranger. One could even buy boxed chocolates spiked with methamphetamine. Yes, chocolate, laced with meth. Marketed to housewives. By 1938, Pervitin manufacturer Temmler Pharmaceutical had launched a PR campaign modeled on Coca-Cola's global marketing strategy. The drug exploded in popularity. It was particularly popular among people who worked night shifts and young recreational drug users because the drug increased alertness, confidence, concentration, and risk-taking behavior, while reducing sensitivity to pain, hunger, and tiredness. Germany was quietly becoming a nation of meth users, and the military was watching very closely. The doctor who wanted to win the war with drugs. Dr. Otto Friedrich Ranke, director of the Research Institute of Defense Physiology, and he had a theory. His goal was to defeat the enemy with chemically enhanced soldiers who could give Germany a military edge by fighting harder and longer than their opponents. He tested Pervitin on 90 university students, essentially using them as human guinea pigs, and the results stunned him. He wrote in his notes that Pervitin could be an excellent substance for rousing a weary squad. He believed it would help Nazi Germany win the war. The problem with the Blitzkrieg, Germany's strategy of lightning fast, relentless armored assault, was that soldiers were human. They needed sleep. They got tired. And when they stopped to rest, the whole war machine ground to a halt. Methamphetamine use is believed to have played a direct role in the speed of Nazi Germany's initial Blitzkrieg operations. As medical historian Peter Steinkamp puts it, Blitzkrieg was guided by methamphetamine. So, in April 1940, before the invasion of France, the military issued what became known as the Stimulant Decree. More than 35 million tablets of Pervitin and isophon were sent to the front lines. 35 million pills for 3 million soldiers in just 10 weeks. And the results were almost unbelievable. Under its influence during the Blitzkrieg, German troops were able to travel a staggering 22 miles per day in tanks, under fire, through enemy lines, and then cut the telephone wires, which disabled all communication from French headquarters to the front lines. France, with one of the largest armies in the world, fell in 46 days. Military historians had never seen anything like it. The Allies were baffled. How could any army move that fast? How could soldiers fight for days with almost no rest? Now you know the answer. The crash. When the drug turned on them. But methamphetamine doesn't give you anything for free. Every high has a crash. And for the Wehrmacht, the crash was catastrophic. Methamphetamine's effects on the brain triggered intense mood swings, paranoia, and hallucinations. Soldiers experienced heightened anxiety and were prone to making impulsive, often reckless decisions. Some soldiers turned violent, committing war crimes against civilians. Others attacked their own officers. Letters started arriving back home from the Eastern Front that were disturbing. Soldiers describing visions, writing in circles. Unable to sleep even when they wanted to, many soldiers became addicted to Pervitin, leading to a dangerous cycle of dependency. The drug's initial benefits were outweighed by the cravings and withdrawal symptoms that followed. The same drug that had created the Blitzkrieg was now hollowing out the men who had fought it. By 1941, the military began restricting Pervitin, but it was too late. The supply chains were already flowing. Soldiers were hooked. Commanding officers kept distributing it anyway, sometimes against the direct orders of their own unit physicians. The Reich had built its greatest military victories on a foundation of crystal meth, and now that foundation was crumbling from the inside out. The Führer's personal drug dealer. Now, we need to talk about Dr. Theodor Morell. Morell was not well liked. He was described as slovenly, strange, and possibly incompetent. He was sarcastically dubbed by Göring, the Reich's master of the injections, but Hitler loved him. It started in 1936 when Morell cured Hitler's chronic stomach problems with a bacteria-based remedy. From that moment, Hitler made him his personal physician, and a relationship began that would last 9 years and shape the course of the entire war. Morell's notes show that the doctor injected Hitler almost daily with various drugs, including amphetamines, barbiturates, and opiates, over 74 different substances. Every single day. Here is what Hitler was actually receiving: Vitamultin, a vitamin shot that sometimes secretly contained methamphetamine; Eucodol, a powerful opioid, essentially oxycodone; cocaine eye drops prescribed to soothe his throat and clear his sinuses; testosterone for potency; barbiturates for sleep; leeches, yes, actual leeches. Hitler often received a combination shot of Eupaverin, a non-addictive relaxant, and Eucodol, which is oxycodone, an addictive opioid. Morell's notes show that Hitler often asked for Eupaverin, but received both at the same time. So Hitler was likely not fully aware he was becoming addicted. His own doctor was secretly feeding him an opioid addiction. These daily injections likely played a role in propping Hitler up as his body weakened under the stress of war, enhancing his charisma and helping him maintain the illusion of invincibility as the prospect of victory grew increasingly bleak. The monster wasn't just running on ideology. He was running on chemistry. Cocaine submarines and the final gambit. By 1944, Germany was losing, badly, and in desperation, Nazi scientists cooked up one of the strangest drug experiments in military history. Nazi soldiers boarded mini submarines, 1- or 2-person submarines with missile launching capabilities, with chewing gum, containing 20 milligrams of cocaine and 20 milligrams of methamphetamine for multi-day missions, cocaine meth chewing gum. For lone submarine operators, sitting in a tube the size of a hallway, beneath the ocean, for days at a time. This was called DIX, the Nazi military's last great pharmaceutical project. A pill that combined methamphetamine, cocaine, and oxycodone into a single dose, designed to help soldiers march 55 miles without rest while carrying a 4-pound pack. The war ended before DIX could be deployed at scale, but the Allied forces had noticed. By 1941, rumors about Nazi soldiers using a superdrug had been confirmed, and Allied commanders launched their own classified program to find the perfect warfighting drug. Allied soldiers were known to use amphetamines in the form of Benzedrine in order to battle combat fatigue. The British, the Americans, everyone was doing it. World War II was not just a war of tanks, bombs, and ideology. It was a war of chemistry. The crash that never ended. April 22, 1945, just days before his suicide, Adolf Hitler fired Theodor Morell. His drug supply had run dry. The injections had stopped. And in his diary, Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels wrote that all the opiates the Führer had received had not been beneficial in the end. A 1-2-year empire built on purity propaganda, racial ideology, and an ocean of methamphetamine had collapsed. After the war, veterans exposed to Pervitin faced not only the physical and psychological scars of battle, but also the challenges of overcoming addiction. The men who had conquered France in 6 weeks came home shaking, paranoid, and dependent on a drug their government had told them was just a stimulant, just like coffee. The story of Pervitin is, at its core, the story of what happens when a government treats human beings like machines, when it decides that winning is more important than the minds and bodies of the people doing the fighting. The Blitzkrieg was fast. The crash lasted a lifetime.